Hello, welcome to Geeks Unleashed. It's episode 109. I'm Mark,
I'm Jasmine.
and we've started doing this as of last week,
hmm
especially for new people. As of episode 100, we will each week be talking about sort of our current viewing, reading, or playing geeky habits, or with a mixture of comic book news, just geeky news, and every week we'll pick a review, whether that's a comic book movie or a comic book TV show. And that is our new mission statement going forward.
Yep. And before we really get started, if you are watching this on YouTube, thank you so much. We appreciate that. We would also like it if you would like this video and subscribe to our channel so that you get updates when we upload new episodes. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, we appreciate that as well. We would also very much love it if you would leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, or Spotify.
And lastly, we do have a Ko-Fi. We drop links here and there. Feel free to give a couple of quid, a couple of dollars, a couple of peanuts. Anything is well received. So, anyway, have you had a good week?
It's the first full week back after all of the holiday vacationing, so it was a rough work week. I was very happy to have the
That's how
weekend
I
here.
felt.
Yeah,
That's how I felt. I'll be honest with you. I'm pretty shattered now.
yeah.
It's back to
Back
people's
to the grind.
back to the grind and people's expectations
Yeah.
being yesterday.
Yeah.
So, so I mean, look, everyone's got work regardless of what it is.
Yep.
I'm sure Elon Musk even puts in a busy day. So,
Well, yeah, a busy day like messing something up.
yeah. I mean, I'm sure he's had stressful days in his life. So,
Sure.
uh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But equally,
How
I'm
can I
sure that.
break this billion-dollar company today? By the way, Elon, if you wanted to donate to our Ko-Fi, we'd really appreciate that. You could spare more than a few bucks if you wanted to. Just
He could
saying.
drop the whole kitchen sink round. So, anyway, have you? So yeah, to be honest, this week, like the week disappeared.
Yeah.
Beyond, I don't, saw family yesterday, saw a friend of mine yesterday, and seen for about 3 years because of COVID and other things. We were discussing it yesterday. There was a few times that we tried to meet up, and every time we tried to meet up, the government dropped another lockdown on us.
Oh, that sucks.
Like,
Yeah.
there was a couple of times we went to meet up, and then I think we kind of just gave up. And like, so it was actually nice meeting up for a beer in the day. I don't really
Yeah.
drink in the day that often anymore. The days that have gone.
Day
I fin-
drinking is the best.
day drinking. Yeah. So I finished one. I only had the one beer with him because I then had to carry on driving. We met
Yeah.
up for about an hour and a half, and then had to get. Then I went around to see family. Got some late Christmas presents. So got a graphic novel from my sister, which was cool.
Nice.
It's a Chip Zdarsky graphic novel. I think it's called New Burn or something like that. I haven't read it, but I sent her a list of a couple of graphic novels that I quite fancied.
hmm
Got a record from my parents, the Fratellis, their first album, which I've been wanting for ages. It's
Never
an
heard of
English band.
them. Oh, okay.
It's a British band. It's a British band. So, you should listen. There's a couple of tracks that are good actually, like Chelsea Dagger, Creeping Up the Backstairs. There's good couple of tracks.
hmm
But yeah, for the week, we're gonna chat about catching up and stuff. Like my Switch has had love during the week. I tell you what, the Switch is a nice thing to play. It's not stressful. It's
hmm
not like playing The Last of Us or
Oh,
any,
yeah.
or even Horizon Zero Dawn had moments where, whilst not scary, just equally frustrating that I'd get killed 18 times before I could move on.
Yes.
With Mario, I've generally made quite a lot of progress through the game. Yes, I
hmm
haven't got every single coin or moon or whatever, but I've been moving quite rapidly through the kingdoms, and
Yeah.
it's a nice game to play. But we've also been playing Mario Kart quite a lot as a family. That's
I bet
been
that's fun.
Oh yeah, that is like that. We'll probably play it today. We play it every day, to be honest with you. I played a little bit of what's it called? Crash
Crash
Bandicoot.
Bandicoot?
Yeah, Team Racing. I'm not enjoying that as much as Mario Kart. I'll be honest
Yeah.
with you. So, have you played that?
Mm-mm.
It's not as enjoyable as Mario Kart. Mario Kart's a lot more fun. So,
Yeah, I played Mario Kart for the first time when I went to LA a couple of years ago. I was playing with my best friend. She was like, "Oh my God, you've never played this?" And I was like, "No, I've never played this before." It was frustrating though for a new person.
oh, honestly, it's a game that, whilst I think skill and luck are a big part of Mario. So Mario Kart, you could be number one, and suddenly you could be number eight,
hmm
like in position. It's just so like it is luck really, because
Yeah.
you're going away, all of a sudden somebody hits you with another a shell, and then as you
A
recover,
stupid
somebody
banana
else.
peel.
Yeah, then somebody, yeah, then like, and then you go around the corner, yeah, and hit a banana peel. It's annoying. So, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't really watch too much TV. It's the week's gone by pretty quickly. I did watch the first episode of Pieces of Her on Netflix. Have
I've
you?
not heard of that one.
Oh, it's going to annoy me now. Uh, you'll know who I mean.
Pieces of Her. Is that new?
I think it came out last year sometime. Uh,
Hmm.
it stars Tony Colletti.
Oh, Toni Collette. I love her.
Yeah, oh Colette, sorry. It's got a bunch of others in, but so it's very American in the sense that I don't want to ruin anything about it because this happens in the first few minutes or maybe first 5 minutes. Mother and daughter in a cafe,
Hmm.
and I'll be honest with you, I didn't really like initially. It wasn't grabbing me, pulling me in. Within a few minutes of them being in the cafe, somebody walks in, shoots and kills 3 people within the cafe.
Hmm.
And I know that in America, this is stuff that does happen quite like on a normal day. And uh, yeah, so then that event triggers, it's like a domino effect.
Hmm.
And so Tony Collette and her family, the event triggers things within their own family. I don't want to say anymore. I don't want to ruin it because it brings things from the past, shall we
Hmm.
say? Yeah. So I finished the first episode literally about 2 days ago, and I was like, this is actually really good. Like, so I would say if you're interested in a mystery
Hmm.
thriller style show, it's definitely up there. So
Okay. Well, I mean,
um,
I'll put it on my watch list. I have
I
so
know,
much
I
other
know,
stuff on there.
I know, I know. It's like me and you are the same. There's so many things to watch or read or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, and then the only thing I read because I am part of my resolution trying to make more time to reading. Did read a couple of Nightwing comics, but I sat down Friday evening and read. It's been on my shelf for probably a year or two. Joker by Brian Azzarello.
Hmm.
It's a
Very
mini series.
appropriate for our episode this week.
One of the reasons I deliberately read it.
Yeah.
So it follows a Joker that's very similar in the vein of Heath Ledger's Joker, I would say. It's in appearance and kind of mannerisms and
Hmm.
that kind of Joker. More of a gangster style Joker. There's
Okay.
some extremely dark moments in there, and it's done from the perspective of a guy who wants to essentially be the Joker, picks him up from prison. Joker's just walked out of prison, like the Joker's ever going to get let out.
Yeah.
But the Joker just walks on out the gates, etc. This guy, sort of becomes his driver and he's confident, whatever, and he kind of wants to be him. And then as the story goes on, he starts to see actually the Joker is not not just a gangster, just will do crazy things that nobody could even think of.
Hmm.
I mean, there's a scene where the Joker just brutally kills 2 people for no reason, and like even I was like, that's extremely dark. And at that point, I think his driver sort of realised he's not really who I want to be. And but yeah, it's a good story, really well written. The art is really good. Like
Hmm.
it's self-contained. I mean, it's self-contained obviously in the sense that you'd have to know the Joker was to pick it up, but
Yeah.
I think most people, even comic book fans, know who the
Yes.
Joker is. So, sorry, even people that aren't comic book fans know who the Joker is.
Yes.
So.
Thanks, Jack Nicholson.
What about yourself? Any catching up or anything you've been doing?
No,
So
nothing fun. I did a lot of I'm taking a couple of different courses right now. So I did some classes after work, but other than that, nothing fun. Not yet. I might do some reading once we're done recording this episode today, but
okay.
it's just been like getting back into the groove of work and
Oh,
starting up some classes. So boring.
Oh, no worries. Well, maybe next weekend. Maybe next
Yeah.
weekend. Right. No, there was nothing newsworthy that really jumped out at me this week.
Mm.
As we've said before, we're only going to sort of shout out news that kind of grabs our attention. Not going to, we're not going to just sit here all day and read out every single headline we see.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Those days are past us.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Hold on 2 seconds. seconds while I bring this up.
Dun, dun, dun. I think Mark has some trivia in store.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Which I can tell you ahead of time. If it's Joker trivia, I'm not going to do too hot.
Right, okay, so this is Joker trivia. Right, okay, I just wanted to check something. Right, okay. Are you ready? So
Ready.
there's 10 questions.
Okay.
Found online, superheroquizzes.com, /Joker-quiz / Right, anyway, number 1. What year did the Joker make his comic book debut?
If I had to guess, I don't know. 1953.
Remember the first ever episode of Geeks Unleashed? What did we cover?
We did do Joker.
80th anniversary, remember?
Oh.
I
Yeah,
mean,
my math is not so great. So 40 something, 1940 something.
oh, you're getting better. Right, okay. Not literally 1940.
Okay,
So
okay.
the Joker made his comic debut in 1940. His first appearance was in Batman #1, which was released in April 1940.
Man, oh man.
So naturally, this came out 1 year after Batman made his comic book debut.
So they've been neck and neck forever.
So Batman was a year previously. I'm going to assume it was in Detective Comics. Right, okay. So oh, okay. It says here as well, fun fact, Batman #1 was also the comic book debut of Catwoman.
Oh wow, I didn't realize Catwoman was that old as well.
Okay, so what is the real name of Jack Nicholson's Joker from the Batman? Different name from the film that we have in this film.
I don't remember.
Jack Napier.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
It also said that the movie made 411 million at the worldwide box office.
Fun fact, that is the first film I remember seeing in theaters.
I don't remember if I saw it in theaters. I saw Master of the Universe in theaters.
Oh, jeez. Jeez.
I saw Roger Rabbit, Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
I do remember seeing Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Those are some of the first films I saw in theaters. So, I saw the animated Transformers movie. That was also one of the first films I saw. I can't remember which one was the first one, but it was all of those. Anyway, the Joker was created by Bill Finger, Bob Kane, and
no clue.
I know. I'll be honest with you. Okay, so the Joker was created by Bill Finger, Bob Kane, and Jerry Robinson.
I don't recognize that third name. I know the first two.
So Finger and Kane also created Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And Finger, Kane, and Robinson also created Robin.
Okay.
True or false here? Heath Ledger won an Oscar for his portrayal of the Joker in The Dark Knight.
Did he posthumously win an Oscar? I don't remember. I'm going to say true.
This is true, it says. Heath Ledger did win an Oscar, and it was the Best Supporting Actor.
Who accepted on his behalf?
I don't know. It doesn't say. Ledger was. I assume that they would do something like a family member, but right. Ledger. It says here Ledger was widely praised for his portrayal of the character, which that is true.
Yeah,
I remember that. Okay. So this question I'm going to ask you now. I'll be honest with you. I'd forgotten all about it, but I did remember it. But if you'd have asked me, I wouldn't remember only by reading. By reading it. Okay. Who was the Joker's original sidekick in the comics?
His original sidekick in the comics? Joker had a sidekick? I have no idea.
Gaggy, aka Gagsworth A. Gagsworthy.
I would never have known that.
Right.
Oh man, I'm doing terrible. I think I've only got one so far.
Right, this one I know you're going to do well on. Which big name voices the Joker in the Batman animated series?
Mark Hamill. Luke Skywalker himself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that is literally is it. So, okay, so I did know this as well, but I'm going to make an assumption you don't know.
Okay,
But
let's see.
so the Joker has adopted aliases in the past in the comics. Which alias does he adopt? And it begins with an R.
No clue.
Red Hood.
But Red Hood is an actual character.
Yeah, I know, but the Red Hood has also been used by different people as well. So
Mm,
yeah.
okay.
Um,
All right.
so the Joker did adopt the Red Hood in Detective Comics 168, which came out in February 1951.
Oh, I guess I'm thinking of that movie where Jensen Ackles was the voice of Batman Under the Red Hood. That's
Yeah,
a really good one.
That's based off a storyline which was in the comics. So
Yeah.
uh, anyway, who played the Joker in the 1966 to 68 Batman TV series?
The only name I know from that series is two names, Adam West and Eartha Kitt. So Batman and Catwoman, I don't know anybody else.
So Cesar Romero
Okay. Okay.
played the Joker in the TV series. The show ran for 3 seasons, had 120 total episodes. Romero appeared in 22 of them. So. Right, okay. So, what is the real name? I'll be honest, you should know this. What is the real name of Jacqueline Phoenix's Joker from the Joker film, which we're going to discuss in a bit?
Joaquin Phoenix's character's real name, Arthur Fleck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is that how you say his name? Sorry.
Joaquin, yes.
Yeah, sorry. I've literally been saying that wrong for a long time. Anyway, Arthur Fleck is the real name, which also is from The Killing Joke, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Right, okay. So, what is the name of the silent film that helped inspire the creation of the Joker's character? I'll be honest, I didn't know this.
No, I have no idea.
The Man Who Laughs is the silent film that inspired the creation of the Joker character.
Huh.
So, yeah,
Oh.
that is the end of this quiz.
I think I got 3.
Okay, so that is the end of this. So we're going to jump straight into our movie. We've actually, just so listeners, watchers, me and Jasmine have not compared notes.
No, we're
This is
going
actually
into this blind.
this is one of the first times we actually don't know what each other think about this film. Like
Yeah.
sometimes we've watched something, text each other like briefly, or
Yeah.
like even like a minute or two before recording. I said no, let's not do it. So, right, as we mentioned, this is based off of films that have been created by the people we just mentioned in our quiz, obviously DC, and throughout the film, obviously based on just generally DC characters. It's written by Todd Phillips and Scott Silver. It's directed by Todd Phillips, starring, how do you say it,
Joaquin.
Joaquin. So I did not know that. Phoenix, Robert De Niro, Zazie Beetz, Francis Conroy. It is produced by Todd Phillips. I thought this was interesting. Bradley Cooper was one of the producers.
They have a production company together.
So I didn't know
they became friends when they worked on The Hangover because Todd Phillips was the director. And then they became closer friends in the sequels for The Hangover, and then they started a production company together.
So yeah, how weird is that? You would have thought DC wouldn't have been too keen on handing out producer credits. So, also think how well Bradley Cooper's done since being in Alias, the TV series.
Was he in
Alias? Yeah, he was. Yeah, the first season.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
I thought that was what is that guy's name? He was in that Drew Barrymore movie where her name was Josie Grossi. I can't remember. I don't think I've ever watched Alias, honestly.
I don't know if you could see. Oh, it's not very good on the camera. But yeah, there's a picture of him, old school. Yeah, he was in the first season, I think a little bit of the second, and then I think he came back for an episode later on. That was the first first familiarity with Bradley Cooper. Anyway, producers also include Emma Tillinger-Koskov and Walter Hamada. This was released in October 2019. Running time is 122 minutes. Budget was just under 70 million US dollars. Box office, it made a whopping 1 billion US dollars.
Which is insane for an R-rated film. That is an insane turnaround for an R-rated film.
That's characters though, isn't it? Like the Joker, how
Yeah.
well known he is. So right, okay. So this awards wise, 122 wins, 239 nominations. Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, this was very highly praised.
So for the Academy Awards, 2 Oscars here. Best performance as an actor in a leading role. Obviously, Phoenix won that. Best achievement in music written for a motion picture. So I didn't even think about it, to be honest, like music wise.
Yeah.
Right. BAFTAs. I'm not going to read out all of these, just a couple. BAFTAs, leading actor, Phoenix again, music, and also casting.
I didn't even know best casting was a category.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Wow.
Yeah. So, right. Okay. So yeah, I mean, that's just some of the awards, but there is many awards given out for this film.
Mhm.
Phoenix did really well in terms of how much he mopped up. But do you want to summarize the movie at all?
So quick summary here. It is a film about a mentally troubled stand-up comic who embarks on a downward spiral that leads to the creation of this iconic DC villain.
Yeah. So before we jump into the movie review, I thought it's quite a good idea just to like how I guess our familiarity with the Joker. So let's be honest, he's a character we know about from the 1960s television show. He's familiar in terms of the comic books we've read, animated series, like the Batman animated show. And
you cannot be familiar with Batman if you are not familiar with the Joker. Like they go hand in hand.
Oh, definitely. So is there anything you want to talk about specifically in terms of your own familiarity? Maybe anything you've enjoyed previously, whether it's read or watched or anything like that? Or...
I think the biggest thing I've always liked about the Joker was that his background was like shrouded in mystery, right? It was always like you never really knew. There were always these different storylines in the comics. Everybody had a different take on his backstory, but like essentially with every iteration of the Joker that was in pop culture, not necessarily just in the comics, but like in the films as well, we never get into Joker's background. We never have an understanding of what turned him into this supervillain. And I think that is what, as I have always liked about the Joker, was that you never really knew who he was. You could only take him at face value. So for a character like that, I always thought that he was a really good villain because he was so unpredictable. And honestly, even as a kid, like watching the first Tim Burton Batman films, like I never cared what the Joker's background was. I had no interest in learning about why he became the person that he was. But I always thought that he was a really good villain because he defied like logic, right? So you couldn't just put him in a box and predict that he was going to do X, Y, and Z. And so I thought that was always really cool about him. And it's coincidentally one of the things that I dislike the most about this film is that like they're trying to give us a background on the Joker, and I don't care. I don't care how he got to the point that he's at. Like, I like the Joker as a villain. I don't give a shit about the Joker's background or his history or his childhood or any of those things.
So I guess I think with my familiarity, I've been reading, I think, Batman comics on and off since the 90s. So yes, I've gone through periods of time where I've stuck with it and dipped out again. In terms of my familiarity, big storylines for me include Death in the Family, The Killing Joke, The Three Jokers, various other sort of comic iterations. The Killing Joke we've reviewed on our podcast as well.
Yeah, but I enjoy Death in the Family much more than The Killing Joke.
Yeah, I prefer the Three Jokers storyline as well to The Killing Joke. The Killing Joke is kind of out of those sort of big ones, kind of my least favorite. But I really like. So what I liked about the Three Jokers was it was kind of a sequel to The Killing Joke. So The Killing Joke is kind of half in continuity, half not. So they've taken the incident with Barbara Gordon getting shot, but they kind of don't address anything else that happened in that book.
Yeah.
And then with the Three Jokers, actually, is pretty much a direct follow up to that. And within the Killing Joke and the Three Jokers, they do again give the Joker a little bit of backstory. So, but within the main continuity, we've still never ever found out much about the Joker, who he is.
Mhm.
So I guess it's like it's there if you want that origin as a comic book fan. If you want that origin, Arthur Fleck, the Killing Joke, even the Three Jokers is kind of your origin. But generally speaking, they don't give an origin.
Mhm.
So, and like you, that's kind of how I've always accepted it, that we
Yeah.
don't really have an origin. You've got the origin in the Killing Joke if you want it, because it's kind of, they don't really necessarily always bring it in. They bring
Mhm.
Barbara Gordon getting shot and in a wheelchair over, but they don't never bring anything else across.
Mhm.
The Three Jokers was like a natural successor, and the last few pages very much do tie into the Killing Joke. So I didn't realize you'd read Death in the Family.
Yeah.
So in terms of obviously like movies, I've watched all the Batman films.
Mhm.
So Heath Ledger's appearance was phenomenal, and I really love the fact that we didn't know who Heath Ledger's Joker was.
Mhm.
We won't talk about those films now because that will no doubt get covered on this podcast. One film I really think we should cover on this podcast is the Lego Batman movie.
Love.
And Joker was hilarious in
Yes.
that film. So
Will Arnett is surprisingly a really good Batman too.
Will Arnett was hilarious as Batman. Anyway, we won't talk about that. We won't ruin it. But the Joker for me, if you think about some of his early days in the comics, and I can even remember reading comics of the Joker in the 90s, they've definitely progressed this Joker to a much darker
Mhm.
place. And initially, he was introduced as more of a
campy villain.
a campy criminal villain.
Yeah.
And
But I
probably,
think that's just a sign of the times, though.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, there's no way a campy villain would ever be taken seriously now.
Mm-mm.
He would be a real, like, if they had not made him as dark and twisted in these current times, he would be considered a more of a D-level villain. He would
Right.
not be taken seriously. But
Yeah.
now they've progressed him and just kind of shown how unstable he is. You know,
Yeah.
and I think the Three Jokers is definitely worthwhile reading because it covers essentially it covers different types of Jokers that we have seen over
Mhm.
the years. So I for me, obviously, I just like everybody very familiar with him. I don't think I've ever seen the Batman animated series, but maybe on this podcast one day we'll cover it. If we've said we're going to cover all TV shows and films, maybe.
I'm sorry.
No,
Wait a minute. Wait. Did you just say you have never watched Batman the animated series?
Maybe like one episode or something, but I've never like followed it.
What?
No, I've never.
What? Hold on.
Never.
Time out. How?
I just don't think I did. Like I watched loads of things like Spider-Man the animated series, X-Men the animated series. I don't even know because they did.
I don't know how I can be friends with you, Mark.
I think they did a Superman animated series as well. I don't think I watched that either. So,
oh my god. Oh, okay. That needs to be a whole thing. There's
one day we'll cover it.
I have all of them on DVD. That's how old they are. And then that means you've never seen Batman Beyond either.
I've never seen Batman Beyond either.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
One day we'll cover it on here. I'm sure you'll make me.
Yes. So. Now that is my absolute.
Do you know
goal.
what? Thinking back as a kid, I think I didn't like the style of the animation. And now I'm probably a lot more amenable to it. But I think as a kid, I didn't like that style of animation, so I just didn't watch it.
Guys, I am shocked. I like, for those of you that are just listening, you can't see my face, but I am shocked. This is all news to me.
Not well received news.
Seriously, like I'm looking at my bookcase and at my autographed copy from Kevin Conroy of the first season of Batman the Animated Series. I cannot believe you have never seen Batman the Animated Series, Mark.
No. I think I've watched because wasn't the Mask of Phantasm?
Yes.
What like connected to that? I've seen that. Yeah. I've seen that, but other than that, I don't think I've watched anything.
Okay, we're building that into the schedule this year.
This year, you want to get somehow watch how many seasons of Batman the Animated Series are there?
4.
How many episodes a season? Like 20?
22 or something. They're 20 minutes, 22 minutes.
It might have to be like 12 episodes, 12 episodes for each podcast or something
Oh
like that.
darn.
I think I'm about to get through 22 animated in a week. Anyway, we'll take that offline and let you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Anyway, right, okay. So my thoughts on him as a character, because I think it's important before we go and chat about the character. I think we've seen many variations of this character over the
Yes.
years, and he has definitely evolved from a campy. Even Jack Nicholson's version was campy.
Yes.
Wasn't whilst he again killed people,
Mm-hmm.
and then we saw the horrific Heath Ledger version, which was gangsterish.
Mm-hmm.
We then saw oh.
Jared Leto.
So yeah, I literally had to pause for a minute. Jared Leto and his version, which let's be honest, it's another side of the Joker.
Yeah.
You know, the
Yeah.
gangster side, which we saw a bit of that in, you know, The Dark Knight with Heath Ledger,
Mm-hmm.
but you know that was where you get it done well. With Jared Leto's one, unfortunately, it was one where you do it badly.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think Jared Leto is not a very good actor, and whilst that film equally wasn't very good, they gave a not very good role and a badly written role to someone that isn't a very good actor. so it makes it worse. There you go. And I'm sure we will continue to see people play the Joker well over the years. I think people will. I think people will have seen Jared Leto's performance and think, I can't do that. I need to do, because Heath Ledger showed us what a good Joker looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I'm talking about before I watched this film, right? So I think, yeah, like you say, Joker as a sign of the times has very much evolved. And, you know, and with each kind of movie or TV show, we get either a toned down or a toned up version. Like you say, the animated series, the Lego movie, they're clearly not going to walk around murdering people. Yeah. So, anyway, because I know you've dabbled in the comics and stuff. Was the Death in the Family one of your favorite stories with the Jokers?
Yeah, because it tied into the animated film of Under the Red Hood, and I thought Under the Red Hood was a really nice sort of iteration of a version of the Joker. So I enjoyed it. I mean, I like the revenge is one of my favorite like tropes. So that's part of the reason why I liked Under the Red Hood so much. Just like Robin on this revenge mission that he's so deep into it that even Batman can't pull him back from the brink. So
I think one of my favorites was Death in the Family. It was Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo. Did you read that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that for me was just like phenomenal. It was just brilliant when they sort of did all the new 52 line of comics. They were not that great, but the Batman ones were standout. That story was incredible. Just seeing like how he had that face cut, like he put some like another face over his own, like yeah, and that's what I mean. The sign of the times we're in. Those kind of comics would never have been acceptable in the 70s or the 80s.
Of course not. That's too dark.
Way too dark. That's what, you know, at the time we had the comic book. Was it the Comic Code Authority or something that would approve, essentially saying that comics were okay for kids to read? Those would not have been approved at all. So I remember they actually. I remember when I used to buy comics, they had those on. They've taken those away now. So anyway, let's talk about the movie.
All right.
You go first. Just summarize your thoughts on this film.
I didn't really see a point for this film. I just like, why is this the story that we told? Is pretty much what I was thinking the whole time I was watching it. Like, I guess like if I pull apart the film and I'm looking at it just as a film perspective, like it's paced well, it's it's well acted, the tone is right, like it's a well-made film if you just look at it from a film perspective. But like, as far as me, the viewer, enjoying the film, I did not enjoy the experience of watching this movie. there were just a lot of choices that I didn't understand. Like especially
You mean choices you didn't understand? Choices that the directors and writers
yes,
made, or the characters made?
no, that the directors and like behind the scenes, the people pulling the strings, the choices, some of the choices that they made. Like I was really, I I understand the whole Zazie Beetz part. Like I understand his delusion about her, but like to pull the audience along the way that they did, I it set the tone for me that I was really pissed off from the very beginning of the film because I was like, there is no way that this woman would ever be interested in this man. Like, it's not possible. And so for the whole like, I don't know, first 2/3 of the film, when you see them together, I'm just like, this is stupid. Like, there is absolutely no reason for her to even entertain him as a
Mhm.
partner. And then, sure enough, by the end, you realize that he's delusional and he's made all of that up in his head, but you don't know that. And so, like, it was just like one of those things where, as I'm watching the film, I'm like, who fucking wrote this? Like, this is awful. This is an awful portrayal of women, and just like you're not giving this character any value at all. And so the payoff of that being all a delusion just felt so trite. Um, and I don't know. I liked some of the elements. Like I liked that we got to see Thomas Wayne actually have lines and a speaking role, which we usually never ever get to hear Thomas Wayne at all in any
Mhm.
of the iterations of any of the Batman movies that we've seen. So it was nice to see the Waynes, before the whole alleyway scene. Um, but I just it really got to the point where it was just like I don't care. Like this guy had a shitty life. So what? Like you had a shitty life. How many other people have shitty lives that don't go around doing what you did?
Yeah, I think. Well, okay. So the Zazie Beetz thing. I'll be honest with you. Once they kind of said that was part of the delusion, I did accept it. I was a little bit.
I was
I don't know.
relieved for sure because like I'm telling you, I was like, there's no way this woman would ever be with that man. Like
Yeah,
there's
I know.
just no way.
I kept questioning, like, why would this woman keep showing interest in him? Like,
Hmm.
I was questioning that, but then that did fit because throughout the film they did show many things that he was delusional over. I think so. With this, I've tried to separate out quite a lot in terms of my thoughts on it. As a film, it's well done.
Hmm.
So it's well written.
I'd agree with that.
It's
It's a
well
well done
produced.
film.
It's a well done film. It's well written, well acted. It's paced well. There's so much that's this sounds bad. There's so much right with how they've made the film.
Hmm.
Like, as in they put it together well. Like when I
Yes,
didn't, I watched it continuously. I didn't break. I wasn't distracted. I didn't pick up my
it is a
phone.
textbook definition
Like,
of a well-made film, but that doesn't
yeah.
mean you have to enjoy it.
No, so then to take that aside, did I enjoy the film? I've enjoyed parts of the film.
Hmm.
I didn't enjoy the film itself. By the time the film finished, I was like, initial thoughts that came to me was it wasn't really a single character for me to get behind and root for. It's a very unusual film in that sense. There was no, good guy, so to speak,
Hmm.
to root for. But then that isn't what this film was. So that's why it's
Right.
very unusual in its sense. Yes, okay, we do have other vigilante and bad guy type films out there, but even then, I think sometimes you can see their cause,
Hmm.
but this guy had no cause. So then my other separation, kind of like well done film, and then like I say, it was quite really, if I'm to sum it up, a depressing film. By the end of it, I was kind of just
Yeah.
really sullen and depressed. You know, I'm kind of glad I watched it on my own. It wouldn't have been a film my wife would have enjoyed.
No.
So and then the other part of me, this backstory of the Joker. So I've read obviously the Killing Joke, which gave us a version of a backstory. This is a different version with the same name of Arthur Fleck.
Hmm.
Now this version is a bit like where they try to do this in modern day times, give us a reasoning and a purpose behind the character as to why they are who they are.
Right.
Like if we take Heath Ledger's Joker, for instance, we have no backstory ever. We
Right.
just, he obviously clearly did have a horrific, you know,
Yeah, he
uh,
mentioned a couple of things, but we don't actually see it.
no, no,
And he
yeah,
uses them as like butts of his jokes, which
yeah,
is fine when the character itself is the one that is giving you the story. But
yeah,
for the directors and writers to give me a villain backstory, this ain't it. Like,
yeah. So that backstory itself of the Joker. Okay, fine. They wanted to tell this story. Okay,
mhm.
fine. It's an unnecessary story to tell, but they've told it. And so then what I'm trying to do is say, okay, I accept they've told it. So I watched and I've received it. Like, so my thoughts on this story that I've now received are, okay, it's finished. And yes, I do feel sorry for him now. Like that, if that's your intention, I do feel sorry for the Joker. I feel sorry for him in terms of the life that he got given. His mum clearly had a lot of trouble and problems, and the system didn't recognize that and didn't deal with that, and allowed a child to be in, Arthur Fleck to be in the sort of the upbringing of somebody that had her own problems. They mentioned about tied to a radiator and other things. So this child has obviously been, from an abusive family and a delusional mum who had her own mental illnesses. He obviously had his own mental illnesses, and there was a scene, obviously, when he was with his support worker, where she said the system doesn't care about me, the system doesn't care about you, and even he says, "How am I going to get my medication now?" And you see instances throughout this movie that lead to where he's got to. I obviously don't agree, because I'm sure there are plenty of mentally ill people out there that don't get to that stage. And I'll put up front, I don't know that enough about mental health. I'm not a mental health expert. I'm not likely to probably sit down and read mental health books or educate myself as much as probably you should. I'm definitely someone who's now in his 40s, recognizes it, and I'm probably a lot more understanding than I would have been in my 20s or teenagers, like, but that comes of age. So I come across many people that have problems, and always try, if you see someone out and about, try to give support, etc., where I can, or not just mentally ill people, just vulnerable people in general. If they need support, obviously try to provide help if you can. But the system ultimately fails a lot of people, not just the Joker.
It's not designed to help people.
No, the system hasn't been designed to help people, and there are a lot of people out there that do struggle, and they try as best as they can to take away the tools because they don't want to spend the money on people. Because essentially, people with problems just cost the system money and don't make money. So, we're kind of relying on our government or wealthy people like the Elon Musks of the world to make donations.
I mean, I get that is what they're like. That's a story that they're telling. I get that, but like in the context of the character of the Joker, I don't care. Like, I don't care that he had a shitty childhood. Like, I was never interested in seeing what made him into the villain that he was. And I think by layering the film in, like, to me, it's almost like the filmmakers are saying, how could he have been anything else? And I think that's not the point. That shouldn't be the point of this character specifically.
Yeah, and I agree. Like, I remember watching Ray Donovan. Did you ever watch Ray Donovan?
Love Ray Donovan. Such a good show.
Do you remember when they did the storyline in which they so Ray Donovan was someone who didn't give a shit, would kill people, he was a fixer, he did whatever he could to fix, and he was quite ruthless with it. He did, he whatever he had to do to get the job done, he did it, whether it was burying bodies, whatever it was. And then they suddenly, like 2-3 seasons in, I can't remember, suddenly give this whole backstory of how he had a whole messed up childhood, he was sexually abused, and basically this was the reasoning behind who he is. And I was like, I don't really care. Like, I do care. That's horrible. Like, obviously that is horrible. But I was quite happy to accept Ray Donovan
as being just a sociopath. Like,
as a sociopath.
What is so bad about that?
Because sometimes you get sociopaths who are just sociopaths. And sometimes, like, you don't need to have the context behind why.
Right.
Because there are people in the world that are literally just sickos,
Mm-hmm.
sociopaths, whatever you name, that want to just commit murder,
Mm-hmm.
sexually abuse other people, and they've had nothing wrong with their childhood. They've had, like, literally, they've almost had like the perfect childhood.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of stories out there where you can look it up where they've had a nice normal mum and dad family, church
Mm-hmm.
on Sundays, but they killing rabbits or dogs or whatever, and they just want to take it to the next level, and and they've literally had nothing wrong with them, and it's obviously it was felt when they wrote The Killing Joke, but also for this movie, that actually we need to give the Joker a backstory. So, look, they've made a backstory. I've watched it, and yes, okay, I think it was a really well done film. There's a lot that they've done well. The acting was phenomenal. The script was really well done. I even liked the cinematography. I liked the settings and everything like that. The world of Gotham that we got to see from this point of view. Because obviously,
Yeah.
when we go to Gotham, we normally get to see it from Bruce Wayne's point of view,
Mm-hmm.
or Catwoman's point of view. We've rarely ever got to see it from the bottom.
Right.
And this is what we've got to see was the bottom. And I thought that was good to get that different view. Yeah, okay, the mental health stuff, giving him that background. By the time the film finished, I walked away thinking I feel sorry for him, and it has kind of given me a little bit of a different view of the world now. I think in terms of actually there are many people out there that the system doesn't care about,
Mm-hmm.
and yes, okay, they're not all going to go down this road, but there will be some people that have gone down a really bad path because the system has let them down.
Yeah.
And
But I think for like an iconic villain, that's sending the wrong message. Like, I don't want to think of my version of the Joker as some guy who was made this way because society mistreated him. Like,
yeah,
I prefer to think of Joker as like, this guy was fucked up, like, period. And because of his own intentions and his own, whatever, like, he chose to do the things that he did. I don't want to think of the Joker as a victim, and that's why he's done what he's done. Like, that's not as exciting to me. That's just not as exciting of a backstory for a villain to be like. I mean, that's so cliche too. Like, oh no, you were abused and now you're abusing other people. Well, yeah, no shit. Like, hurt people, right? Like, we all get that. I just, for a villain as iconic as Joker, there was just no reason to give him such a like generic human backstory. We didn't need that.
Okay, so every episode we always talk about favorite characters, and this is the one thing we did discuss before the film was it was difficult. So, but there are so I think when we choose a favorite character, most of the films you look at do have sometimes even 5 or 6 characters that you could pin on, and there was always like the hero or heroes or somebody you kind of root for, the underdog.
Yeah.
And in this movie, there is no one the hero, the underdog.
No.
So with the Joker, I'd almost say he's probably my least favorite because he's a serial killer essentially. Like, well, is he a serial killer now? He killed 3 people on the train. He killed the comedian. Is that 4 people? Maybe.
I mean, more than 2, right? Like,
what's the definition of a serial killer?
Well, it has to be multiple events. So, like, you kill 3 people at one time. That's still one event. Those 3 guys on the subway. So maybe he needs one more death. Well, 3 because he ended up killing Bobby. So.
Oh yeah, the guy in his apartment. Yeah.
So I would say, that's a serial killer.
So, okay, so by the end of the film, we've got ourselves a serial killer, and yes, as we've discussed his life, but I would put him not in my favorite character category of this movie. You could say that, there have been appearances by the Joker, like Jack Nicholson, Heath Ledger, where they've done the Joker really well. But because I guess you've had a balanced movie, you could even say sometimes Heath Ledger was my favorite character in the film. But like, I don't know why I'd say that because.
Well, but Heath Ledger brought a layer of depth to that character that we had not seen before.
I think with Phoenix's version of the Joker, he's definitely done that as well. He's brought in a new layer of the Joker that we've never seen before, and he definitely showed a lot of growth.
Growth to the dark side.
not positive growth, not
Yeah, yeah.
positive growth. But this is a bit, actually, do you know what that's made me think now? This is a bit like the Star Wars prequel series, isn't it? You know, like the growth, the development of Anakin Skywalker to Darth Vader.
Hmm.
That's like this film, really, isn't it? I probably could have appreciated this film more if I knew that his Joker was, say, going to be in, you know, the sequel to the Matt Reeves's Batman films. Like, if it was going to be that we had the Batman and the Joker come out at the same time, that would have been a cool thing to do by DC if they'd have
Hmm.
brought the Batman and the Joker out, you know, within a sort of 12-month period, and then the sequel to both films was them two combining. That would have been cool.
Hmm.
Obviously not. I would have got behind more of that. Anyway, favorite character bit. I was struggling. I think there's two characters that jump out for me. I don't know his name, but the little dwarf clown guy, I thought was quite a nice bloke.
Yeah.
Um,
That poor guy.
yeah, that poor guy, lucky to be alive.
Yeah, seriously. Like, super lucky to be alive.
But I kind of liked the moment between him and the Joker. I like the fact that the Joker did kiss his head and said, you know, you were someone that was always really nice to me. And
Hmm.
he, but I liked the moment where he tried to leave and realized he couldn't reach to take the chain off the door.
Yeah, that was
He just
sad.
seemed like it was really sad, and he seemed like I know, obviously it was a horrible moment. He walks in with his friend gets killed, but
Yeah.
he did. But I felt really sorry for him, and he just seemed like a really nice guy, like, and
Yeah.
you know, and But my other favorite character, who I think might be yours, is Thomas Wayne.
Yeah.
So I liked that Thomas Wayne came across as a bit of a badass. Like, he punched the Joker in the face, which, I mean, the Joker deserves far more than that. But that was after a scene
Hmm.
where he'd gone to the gates and sort of grabbed Bruce Wayne's face. Bruce Wayne's like 10 in this film.
Yeah.
I did like as well, by the way, about this film that they showed the Waynes, not massively, but I like the fact that we got to see Bruce Wayne as a 10-year-old. Um, and also that they didn't develop him beyond that gate scene, not like the Gotham TV series, which was
Yeah.
unnecessary. So I like the fact that um, we just got a small cameo of Bruce Wayne, but just to show for reference what part of the timeline we were in. So
Hmm.
I thought that was cool. But no, I love the fact that Thomas Wayne and the Joker are having a confrontation, and Thomas Wayne is just so strong, like so strong, and then he
Hmm.
just leaves the bathroom and punching him in the face. And I just thought I would do that too if someone was like at my gates, like hands on my
Harassing
child.
your kid. Yeah.
Yeah, like, but yeah, I thought it was good to see a little bit more character development of Thomas Wayne. So
Yeah, I agree, because we never ever get to see Thomas and Martha speak. So
yeah,
it was really cool to kind of see the impact that Thomas Wayne was having on Gotham, and he was thinking about running for mayor and doing all this stuff. So yeah, I enjoyed that we got a walking, talking Thomas Wayne in this film.
I was disappointed that the film ended with that alleyway scene, though. I would have been quite happy
Hmm.
to them to have skipped that. I didn't feel we needed that. I mean, we know that's going to happen.
Yeah.
The only assumption I make on that is that they thought this film might have been a one and done. So, and it very well could have been. So I thought maybe they thought, oh, let's just throw that scene in. What I did like was that it wasn't the Joker that shot and
Yeah.
killed them. I thought that would have been so cliche. It would have
Hmm.
been so awful, I think, if they'd have done that moment. But I like the fact that it was like an unknown clown. We didn't
Yeah.
know who it was, just someone with a mask who did it. And obviously Bruce gets to live. But I thought, please, once I realized where they were going, I was like, don't let this be Phoenix's Joker. It'd be
Yeah.
awful. Like, but his Joker's like knocked down the floor somewhere or something. So but yeah, I think it was a very difficult movie to have essentially a favorite character, which
Hmm.
was all part of the film, really. This was an unusual film in that they were building the bottom end of Gotham and showing what actually the neglected gets to look like in this world of Gotham City. But actually, it's a very reflection of society, isn't it? Let's be honest. Not everybody in the world turns into the Joker, but we do have some people that do go down extreme roads.
Hmm.
But I think, okay, you know, so this version of Joker was mentally ill, which played a huge part on his journey to the Joker. But if you were
Hmm.
to take mental illness out of it, you know, then it becomes choice, and some people still choose to go down that road.
Yeah.
So, and I think sometimes you have to just make those choices. So I mean, I'm not one to judge. I can't, you can't judge anyone for their choices. Everybody makes their own choices. So
Oh, I can
um,
judge. I can judge your choices.
like trying to be nice. Like so. Anyway, let's move on from our soapboxes here. So the structure of the movie, I think we've said this at the beginning. I think it was done really well, and I can see why it won awards. The acting was really good. The script was really strong. I don't think there's anything I particularly would cut out of it. I didn't. The one scene I probably didn't enjoy was when he was sort of touching Bruce Wayne's face and trying to make a little boy smile. Not because it was Bruce Wayne. I just didn't like the fact that this guy is sort of touching a 10-year-old's face and trying to make him smile. And I know at the time he was under the delusion that might have been his brother. Still didn't give him the right to show up and do that. That scene sort of made me quite uncomfortable. Obviously, my biggest scene I really didn't like was at the very end when he killed Robert De Niro's character, because I felt like Robert De Niro off stage had tried to be really nice to him. And then at the point where he found out he was a serial killer, he still actually wasn't being horrible to him. He was questioning him and standing up for himself and his opinions. But he, he hadn't kind of, I don't know, I don't feel he didn't feel like he talked down to him or anything like that. But and then suddenly the Joker killed him, which I was really shocked. I was really shocked that happened. I mean, I just didn't expect the gun to come out. So I don't think I'd necessarily cut anything out, like I say, other than that Bruce Wayne scene. I mean, or I would have edited it to not show him touching his face and stuff like that. Other than that, I think they did actually really well with putting this film together.
Yeah, I think again, it's a well-made film. But I don't have to like it just because it's a well-made film. The only other film that this kind of reminds me of, in the sense that the film itself was done well, but like I did not enjoy the experience, was Requiem for a Dream.
Oh, I've never seen that.
Oh my God. That movie it's so well made, but it makes you feel like absolute dog shit by the time the movie is over. And it's just like, I watched that movie one time and I am never fucking watching that movie ever again. Like, once was enough. But this movie kind of has the same effect on me. It's like, this was a well-made film. It was put together very well, but the content of this film, it's just blah. It's just not something that I had any interest in. It doesn't make me any more interested in the characters than I was at the very beginning. Like I like, honestly, like, this was the first time I watched this movie, and this movie came out in 2019. Like, I never had any interest in seeing this movie just from the trailers from before.
So why I didn't have interest in watching this movie is because I felt like DC at that point just seemed like they were throwing shit at a wall and trying to see what stuck. And this, financially did so well. So you can see why, actually, what we'll talk about in a minute, the follow up. But for me, I just felt like, what is DC doing? We've got this DCEU, then we've got Matt Reeves' Batman, then we've got this Joker film, and I was like, what are they doing? Just what? Yeah, so that's actually why I didn't watch it. My opinion wasn't even anything to do with, do we care about a Joker film? It was actually, should I even care about the DCEU as a whole, like including this film with the Batman and stuff like that? I was just like, what is DC doing? And we've got the CW shows and everything, and it just felt like this just nightmare of people that just didn't know what they were doing. So I was like, you know what, I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah.
Then I've heard nothing but good things about it, and when we decided we were going to work our way through comic book related TV and movies, I was like, we're going to have to do it. So I would have watched it at some point. I know I would have watched it one day in my life. So would you watch it again?
Nope.
No, I wouldn't watch
one
it
and done, and I don't give a shit about the sequel either.
Well, we'll have to watch that too. Right, okay, so sequel, which I'll be honest with you, I think is unnecessary. I don't think we needed a sequel. I was actually, when I watched it, I actually forgot there was a sequel. I was quite happy with there's been a one and done. So there is a sequel. How do you say this? Joker?
Polyadu.
Yeah, there you go. Right, going to be released next year in October 2024, ages away. Apparently Zazie Beetz is back, so not sure why we want to carry on going down that, but I guess his delusions might get worse. I don't know. Lady Gaga, though, is going to be back. Not back, sorry. It's going to
Harleen Quinzel.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that this will also be her origin if we get to see her as a psychologist and her progression.
I don't know how I feel. This first Joker film did not treat women well. I can't imagine it's going to do any justice to any of the women in the sequel at all.
Let's see. So, yeah, I don't know where it's going to go. I do hope, though, if this sequel does well, that they bring it to a close. That I don't need a trilogy of Joker movies.
Yeah, well,
well,
it made $1 billion. So
okay,
we'll see.
ratings. Now we go out of 5. Now
I gotta have 2 ratings on this one. I can't just have
this
one.
do you not. That's actually literally how I feel. So I feel like we keep saying, well-made film.
Yeah,
I actually, as a well-made film, I'd give it 5 out of 5. Like
4.5.
It's really well done.
Yeah,
But as an enjoyable film, it's
1.5.
low. I was about to say 2. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy how it made me feel. Probably that's probably more likely how it made me feel. But I did enjoy it as a film. It is well done. So 5 out of 5 there. 2 out of 5 for how it made me feel. So
I'm 4.5 on it being a well-made film, and I'm 1.5 on it being entertaining.
So I'm slightly above you on both, but
yeah.
Anyway, next episode.
One of my favorites.
We're going for something completely different. We can tell you about the next two weeks if you want to watch ahead. So next week we're going to be doing Spawn.
Yes.
And then the week after we're going to be doing Jonah Hex. I've never seen Jonah Hex.
Oh man, it is to me on par with like Ghost Rider. Like it is DC's version of Ghost Rider.
Okay. So, anyway, you can follow us on social media. We're Geeks and Niched everywhere: Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. But people seem to love us mainly on Instagram.
We love Instagram. Come hang out.
Instagram
you can also
join in. Yeah, so go on.
Yeah, I mean, you can also get this podcast wherever you get your podcasts: Google, Podbean, Apple, Spotify. We are everywhere. So please leave us a 5-star review and tell your geeky friends.
Thank you very much for listening. We appreciate it. Look, have a good week and a good journey.
Good journey.